Today is October 4th, and it is kind of an important day because it's an anniversary. I'm about to bare my soul. Steve and I, my husband and I, have been together since December of 1999. And a few months after we were together, I was at my parents' house, and my father got a letter in the mail, and my mother, who gets the mail every day, and who is a gigantic snoop and Budinsky, opened it. To this day, she still claims that she opened it because she thought it was a bill, which is horseshit. But anyway, she opened it, and she read it, and I was standing right next to her, and she read it, and she goes, "Oh, wow." And I was like, "What? What is it?" She handed it to me, and she says, "You should bring this to your father." It was a letter from a woman saying, "Dear Jim," it's my father's name, "Dear Jim, you don't know me, but I think that you are my biological father." And anyway, so brought that to my father, and he didn't talk to my mother for 2 weeks because she did that. But anyway, they finally met her, and I finally met her, and fell in love with her. My sister, Mary Elena, and she has a husband and 2 kids, Ellis and Shayna. And 2 seconds after, my mother hands me the letter, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I have a sister," because I was raised an only child, so it was a shock. I was like, "Oh my God, I have a sister." My mother she goes, "Well, I suppose you should know you have a brother too." So I got both barrels on that day. That was like in March of 2000. So anyway, met her and fell in love with her, and a few years later I met my brother and his partner of 25 years. And all of a sudden had this gigantic family, and every August we celebrate our mother's birthdays. My mother was August 22nd, my brother's mother, Mary, is August 28th, and my sister's mother, Barbara, is August 21st. So we all got together and had this big August birthday girl party, and our families just became 3 times bigger, and everything was really awesome. So anyway, in August of 99, my sister went to take my mother out for her birthday, just to have lunch, and my sister was slurring, and my mother thought maybe she was drinking. She was on the way to work, and so she was like, "Have you been drinking?" And my sister was like, "No," but Howard, her husband, mentioned that she sounded funny that morning too, and so, all of a sudden we thought, "Oh no, she's having a stroke or something." So we brought her to the hospital, and they did all sorts of tests and couldn't find anything wrong with her, and then she ended up making an appointment with a neurologist like a week later, and still slurring the whole time. And the neurologist knew what it was, but didn't want to tell her. And anyway, as a brief amount of time went on, she was diagnosed with what's called bulbar onset ALS. ALS is Lou Gehrig's disease, and bulbar onset is when it starts in the upper part of the body rather than the lower part of the body. And it's a very rare form of a rare disease. So anyway, she developed ALS. As time went on, we all knew what it was. We all knew that time was fleeting, and it was important to spend time together. And we went to see Lady Gaga in July of 2010. And it was me and Steve and my very good friends Jose and Caitlin and Michael, and we met my sister and her husband and her 2 kids in Boston at the Garden, and it was Lady Gaga. So of course Jose and I went in rubber, and my sister sees me. It's the first time that I've let anyone in my family. I've been very outgoing sexually, and very blunt and very outspoken about sex. Never shy about sex, but I didn't really talk about my own fetish side. That was sort of a part of my life that I had compartmentalized, kept private from my family. Not my friends, but my family. And so it was the first time that I let someone in my family see me in gear. And my sister sees me in rubber, and she looks at me and she goes, in this slurred voice, she goes, 10 fucking years, and I'm finally going to get to meet the real you. So we laughed that off and thought it was funny and whatever. And, and as time went on, that sort of preyed on me and sort of caused me to rethink a lot of things. So when Justin came to me, Justin Eddy, who was a very good friend here in Boston, when he came to me in 2010 and said, I want to put on a rubber contest, will you, along with a lot of other people, help me pull it off? I was thrilled, and I was sort of re-examining my role and my ability to be in that community. And because I had been in the fetish community for about 15 years. I'd been kinky for 20 plus years, but in the fetish community for about 15 years, but always in the background because I never really wanted to devote my whole soul to it, and make it a part of me. It's just sort of always in the background, and I was always in the background, and that's given me a really great and unique perspective, having met a lot of people who are also in the background. Met a lot of wonderful people. But anyway, when Justin came to me and said, help me with this, I was thrilled, and I did. And over time, because of that, because of what my sister, Mary Elena, had said to me, I sort of let down the barriers. I sort of didn't really expect someone in my family to offer complete unconditional love regardless, because the kink community is a very sexually charged, very polarized community. I mean, when you think of gay extremists, what you tend to think of is assless chaps marching down the street in the Pride Parade in San Francisco. That's where the mind tends to go to. And so, didn't really think that there was unconditional love in my family for that. And my sister sort of proved that wrong. So I was thrilled to help Justin, and I got more involved. And then when this year's contest came around, I got more involved. And because of a very good friend's encouragement, a good friend who wasn't a good friend before, a good friend who's become a good friend over the past year. Rich is actually the person I'm talking about. Because of his encouragement and because of what my sister had said and this gigantic cathartic realization that I've come to, I decided to compete in the Mr. New England Rubber Contest. And it was a fantastic decision, and it was really a wonderful experience and a bonding experience with the other two people who I was in it with, Clark and Mark, who've both become very good friends. I'm crazy about them both. And so anyway, it's sort of given me a new perspective in life, sort of given me this, as I've said before, this sort of leap out of the airplane fearlessly into the volcano perspective. And has helped me learn a couple of things about myself that I had no idea were the case. For example, when I get a microphone, I do tend to ham it up. I do enjoy being on stage and having fun and just throwing my all into it. I do enjoy representing my community. I do enjoy standing up tall with absolute pride and absolute conviction and saying, fuck it. We are valuable members of society, and there's nothing to be afraid of from us. And so today is October 4th, and it is a very special day because today is the day that she passed away. It It was a normal day. I was taking my mother to Dana-Farber for one of her many breast cancer. She had breast cancer follow-up appointments. She survived breast cancer. She's very healthy now, but it was one of her many appointments. And since we were going out to Boston, we both said, "Hey, let's go down and visit her today." And so we, on the way up to Boston, we called and said, you know, "We're coming down Route 3. Can we come for a visit?" And Howard told us that she had passed away at 7:15. It's actually a beautiful story. She, at this point, Bolivar onset, she had become very incapacitated. She couldn't talk. She was having a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty communicating. As, if you don't know this, and I didn't know this, if, when someone is sick with ALS, as time goes on, as the disease becomes more powerful in their body, and nerves are dying, and their body is changing and becoming immobile, there is intense, incredible pain, and so nights in their house were spent with her crying and sobbing because of the intense pain. And so, you know, they weren't getting much sleep. And so, anyway, Ellis was off at Emerson up in Boston. Ellis is her son. And Howard had to bring Shayna, their daughter, to school in the morning. And so it's like 10 minutes away. And so he looked at her and said, "I'll be back. I'm going to give Shayna a ride to school." And she just sort of nodded. And I guess in retrospect, he said something wasn't right. And he kind of felt something wasn't right. But he had to give Shayna a ride to school. So he ran her to school, and he came back and walked into the bedroom. And she looked up at him and sort of smiled a little bit, and then closed her eyes and passed away. It happened within a minute. Kind of like she was waiting for him to come home to sort of say goodbye. So, despite the fact that I miss her terribly, and it's a very sad day, the fact that my sister found her biological family, and she had an adoptive family who was wonderful, and she had a sister, and she had 2 brothers, and lots of cousins, and my brother Jimmy and his husband Wayne. Despite the fact that she had an adoptive childhood, and she always wanted to know where she came from, she found her biological family, and her family got so much bigger when she did, and is just one of those sort of like amazing, wonderful stories that you read about and say, you search all your life to find who you are, and all of a sudden you do, and life becomes complete. And so, even though I'm mourning her today and missing her a lot, I'm so proud and so overwhelmed with the satisfaction that she found us, and that she changed our lives, and that we changed her lives. So, what I have gone into in the kink community, what I have done, and what I have become, and am becoming, and ever evolving, is largely due to that moment when she looked at me and said, 10 fucking years and I'm finally gonna get to meet the real you. So, anyway, there's a big glimpse into me, but just thought I'd share that.